Hi, Janet.
Hi, Jill. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. I can't believe we're on episode 9. I
I
have
was just going to ask you, is this nine?
I have to look at the list. I have them written down here. I haven't outlined them yet, but yeah,
Hmm.
9. It's so
That's
exciting.
so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will warn you that I have my sweet German Shepherd 2-year-old Dakota here, and she is happily chewing on a bone right now. I left my office door open so she can come and go if she wants to, but hopefully she'll not like erupt in barking as she's sounding alarm bells for who knows what. Anyway, sorry if there's any distractions coming our way.
So welcome everybody. Super glad you're here. Super glad to be here. This feels like such a sacred time. I've been enjoying this process. I've loved the comments. I just like thinking about topics and being with what we've discussed. And there's some really rich things in there. So I hope people are really taking advantage.
I agree. The feedback has been so fun to hear.
Mhm.
And everybody's getting something different out of it. I resonate that some people are loving the conversation. Some people are loving the topic. Some people are loving that we're saying things maybe in a different way. And one person had said in an email to me that she said, 10 minutes in, I thought I knew everything you guys were going to say. And then it started going off the script my brain thought it would go. And I started to expand in a way. She said, I'm not sure if I agree with you guys yet on some of the ideas, but I definitely felt the expansion. So that was really, I just respect that openness to hearing new things.
Yes. And I think that's what we both love about it. Like, I don't care if people agree with us or not. That's not the point. It's like
Mhm.
be the best version of yourself. And I know if I don't get sort of challenged by those or open myself up enough, I
Mhm.
miss opportunities to be more of who I am and experience like super cool stuff on this planet. Really.
Yeah, well said. Yep. Yeah.
So, do you have something on your heart for today, Jill?
If I remember correctly, we had talked about number nine being expansion and kind of the behind the curtain view for each of us to share what expansion feels like to us. And given both of our strengths in kind of breaking things down into understandable components, I sense that will be very enlightening for people, especially maybe for people that feel stuck, like they're not expanding or they haven't expanded in a long time. So I'm still up for that topic if you are.
I love that topic.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
So Janet, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've shared in a previous podcast that I'm not happy unless I'm expanding. Otherwise, it's like, nyeh, nyeh.
I'm in that group too. My favorite messages are ones where I'm surprised, where I'm like, wait, what? Oh my God, and I'm really kind of awestruck by a completely new idea, a completely new thought. I just feel the excitement of all of that. Can we talk a little bit about being stuck though, just given that we have so many different experiences we can pull from, given our client work that both of us do? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go first if that's all right, and then we'll toss it over. Okay. I hear so many times, especially from new clients, I hear something to the effect of, well, I feel stuck. I'm trying to get back to an amazing, transcendent feeling I had 35 years ago. And I was here and I was doing this, and this happened. And I just felt so in myself. I felt so connected, and I'm just trying to get back there. So
Mm.
that's a very common theme that a lot of us have, maybe especially those of us that are desiring consciousness, dedicated to growth, and wanting to feel spiritually connected to source. So I'll just start with that kind of uh, maybe relatable experience that many people have. And then I love to share what we'll share on the topic today. But do you have a client kind of profile that you see in terms of individuals that are feeling stuck?
as you say that, kind of there's an overall theme of people wanting to be where they're not.
Mhm. So are you talking about the experience where someone says, my happy place is Bali and they live in Sun Valley, Idaho?
Even that, and, you know, my monkey mind is getting to me. I can't seem to manifest what I want to have. I'm uncomfortable in my body. There's this sort of of giving, I'll call it a focus of giving the negative a lot of airtime
Mhm.
and thinking that it means something that it most
Mhm.
likely does not.
Mhm.
And that gets back to perspective too, how I view things, how I think about things, and what my belief system is.
Mhm.
So that is a major
Mhm.
stuck point for sure. And that also relates to
That's
what
big.
you said around thinking that the word metrics, we've talked about metrics, you and I have before, the
Mhm.
metrics for measuring when I'm in my best spiritual self. My best spiritual self 30 years ago is not going to be what my best spiritual self is today, and it's going to feel different.
Yeah.
And that's that same
I'm
thing.
glad. I'm glad that you brought up this idea that our thoughts can keep pointing us away from who and what we are and what we already have access to. And I love that you and I have so many different and growing number of strategies and literal solutions for individuals to redirect their brain, because that pattern I sense will always be there of, well, what about this? What about that? I want to feel this way. I don't want to feel this way. I want to be there, not here. I want to be that, not this, right? That ability to think that way will always be there. So as we create new strategies and solutions for reassessing our light and our sense of source within ourselves, where we are, who and what we are, when we are, we don't have to go back to another version of ourselves in another time in order to feel connected. And that would be impossible anyway. So that would not be a solution. So anyway.
I really like the idea of just accepting basically that the mind is going to be active, right? It's designed to be active, but how we harness those properties, even you can call it that, of the mind in a
Mm-hmm.
way where it's aligned with basically where we want to go, what we want to do, how we want to be, and what we want to experience here, because that's possible. And the other thing I just want to put a little add on there, if you worked with me 15 years ago, I don't work the same way that I work today, right? Because the strategies themselves are becoming much more
Mm-hmm.
efficient. And I really, and I know Jill does too, and this is why I like the work that I do so much, is because there's always that expansive edge, which I've talked about before, where my creativity gets to be as in full force as possible. And for me and my work, that means creating strategies that are much more efficient and much more effective. So that's like, wow. So yeah, if you want to, I mean, we're not, Jill and I think I can speak for you in this way. We're not the kind of people that create something and it's the same thing. We do the same. I've got this great healing thing and it's like, you do this and you get this. It's like, well, you know, we want to stay.
And And I mean, kudos to the teachers and teachings and healers that do it that way, that they created some method. Maybe they trademarked it, maybe they made a book, and maybe they created a whole community and a apprenticeship and certification process, and they're all still doing it the same way that they did in 2020 or even 2010. I have, I mean, respect for that. That's so cool. I wouldn't want to do it that way. I mean, it's to me, that's not fun. That's definitely not my style. I hear you saying it's not your style either. We are all so customizable, and the opportunities are different every day for how much more light we can hold in ourselves. So I love the experimentation and I love the creativity involved in, okay, I know what I said yesterday. Is that how I wanted, is that the solution for today? Or is there an even better way? Is there an even faster remedy? Is there an even more effective outcome? So I actually like the idea that I don't want to pull an answer off the shelf. I'm always kind of like, okay, is it the same answer in this game? And I'm fine with that. But when it's a new way of, oh wait, this just got way better. So it's so fun. That's good.
Mhm.
All
And I will,
right.
I just wanted to add too that
Mhm.
I know, and I'll use Reiki as an example I have before. I know even within that construct of that, name of Reiki, there can be a level of expansiveness within it. And so for myself, I
Mhm.
see the energetics of what I know that people describe as Reiki, and I've kind of woven that into my whole fabric of how I operate. So it's an addition to, and it stays expansive in the way that I use those frequencies, I want to say. And
Mhm.
they continue to upgrade, whether certain practitioners, the International Center for Reiki Training, whether I don't know if he
Yeah.
say the same thing that I do, but in my world. So even within constructs, I just wanted to say some people's processes do continue to expand and kind of stay on that
Mhm.
expansive edge.
Good.
And I think
Hmm.
that's this whole idea where we're inviting everybody to find those places within yourself where you might feel a little crunchy, like like, huh, and sometimes for me, it comes up, if I do that one more time, I think I'm just going to scream. Like, that's important information.
Don't stuff that down. Bring that up and like look right at it. Why would I want to scream? What is it about this
Mhm.
that is just unsatisfying right now? Right? Yeah, that's big. So we ready to
Yeah,
segue into the expansion part? I feel like we already are, but
we're in it, I think.
um,
Can't help it, but yeah, we're in it.
so I have an idea of how I want to describe what expansion feels like as an experiencer, and I'd like to start there. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So to me, expansion is if you can imagine yourself in a sphere, in a ball, right? That your current sense of self, others, everything you know and think you know is in that sphere. Okay. And there is an edge to that sphere, especially while we are occupying a human form and animating it and making it come to life. There's this weird little edge. And then all of a sudden, there's an idea or an observation that's just on the outside of the edge of your field. So there's this sort of like, there's lack of reference points is very common, sort of like, wait, what? No, that I think I heard you say this, but that isn't actually like what you said. I think I would expect this experience, and that's not what I'm experiencing. So sometimes there's this weird kind of pause within the system of, this isn't, huh, you know, even lack of words, but something is being offered to you, or you're creating something as your source energy right on the outside edge. So if, and this is my success formula, if we can stay curious, what is that? What is that idea? What is that experience? What is this thing I'm observing or feeling that's outside of my edge? And when you are curious about it, then your brain won't clamp it down. It'll open up like, yes, what is this? And it opens up your entire energy field. And in the process, you expand your energy field to then include whatever that thing is. So the more experiences we have that are outside our field, and we can still have discernment. It doesn't have to mean it's good just because it's the outside of your field. I've never been mugged. So that would be on the outside of my field. Wait, did they just get my phone? Like what? I would have a moment of like, oh, dude, you know what I mean? So things can be positive or negative outside the field, but still it's the opportunity of expansion to meet it with all of you. So
Mhm.
that's what it feels like to me. And the more I stay curious and the more I'm open to things I don't know, things that I might want to know, things that I might want to insert into this reality as my source energy that aren't here yet. So that's another weird one for those of us that are connected is you're offering it as yourself, if you will, your expanded self, putting it into space time with your thoughts, your words, and it's still on the outside of your field. And then you meet it with an expanding. Oh, I love it. I love it. I didn't used to though, and I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that later because that may resonate with some folks. But tell me what it's like for you, Janet.
That's a beautiful description. And as you were sharing, I was thinking about my own version of that because, I think everybody's familiar with glass ceilings, right? And so that's the same thing that we're talking about here. And I just want to say that there is a level of presence, I just want to say of awareness that is an integral part of this. It's a vitally important in order to for me to really have the life that I want to live, to not be bound by anything. Because there's habit, there's habitual patterns that I find myself in that I don't even know I'm in. And those end up creating glass ceilings and the beliefs also they literally create a structure that I'm operating under. And that limits how my sphere can expand using Jill's metaphor. And it keeps me in habitual patterns that may be very limiting. So, awareness and presence, and however anybody does that, I know for myself, there's no way I could have the cool stuff happen in my life today if I didn't have some sort of practice for that. And that doesn't have to necessarily be passive. It can be more, pardon me, interesting, my throat. It can be more of a, it can be passive, meditative, and it also can be movement oriented where there's a focus in it, a presence, but it is a practice, I want to say. So my experience of expansion, I want to share something, just a very simple way that I experience this. I I'll be kind of on something, right? Like something will present and it kind of bugs me or I don't like it or I'm like, huh, or and then I kind of can be, what do I want to say? Looping a little bit with it. Do you know, like, and then I use that pause and I'm like, hang on a second, hang on. And there's a feeling of me here, like the embodied Janet. And then I remember that this body sits within the consciousness of all that I am, not the other way around. Because this thing that happens, I think that my body and how I'm experiencing life is all that is, right? And it kind of sits around everything, and that's backwards. I sit within the consciousness of all that I am. And I can experience an incredible amount in this physical body. And I'm so big. Wow, my voice today. And I'm so big that, oh, wow. Let's just do a little throat cleanse here. Like, I don't know
Mhm.
if this is mine or everybody's, but let's just clear it all up, shall we? Like, let's speak truth here and allow everybody to speak their truth. Wow, I do feel this bumping up against a lot of people's beliefs,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
they can't understand necessarily what I'm talking about, and there's resistance,
Mm.
right? And I do know that sort of I'll use some words: ego, lower self, resistance
Mhm.
that finds safety in what it knows, safety and
Mm.
security, right? Like that's so I feel that with people, and I have absolutely no judgment because I encounter this in my life probably every day, some form of it, right? Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes
Mhm.
not.
Yeah. I feel like what what you're touching on, which is so valuable for this conversation, are attributes of self that can block growth, that can limit progress. Am I correct about that? That you're touching on that aspect?
Yes. When I think about ego and lower self, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I would love to give some examples. Maybe that I'm happy to give examples of where I've personally experienced just a limiting. I've had patterns of operation as my Jill that have literally been repressive, but I couldn't see it. And it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be to soften that so that I did allow for more expansion. So maybe if we give some examples of either personally or client work, and then people can go, oh yeah, that's fine. Okay, now what do I do about it? Does that sound good?
Yeah, yeah, go. You got one on?
Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
see what.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll try to limit the stories about it because they kind of don't matter, but the outcome was that
Mhm.
I hated to be wrong. Like I hated to be wrong. I also, in another version of my Jill, I wanted to pretend I knew everything about
Mhm.
things that were important to me or things that I was uh, known as knowledgeable about. It was a threat to my sense of self if there was something I didn't know, something I wasn't an expert in that felt like I was supposed to know. So between that and not wanting to be wrong, you're very guarded about experiencing anything outside your field, right? You will literally go through subconscious strategies to limit exposure to where you might be wrong or where things could be better or fresh new ideas that you as your source energy or anyone as their source energy experience could offer in terms of, and then there's this way, which is even better, right? You're literally like blinders on, like, don't tell me anything because I'm pretending I have it all figured out,
Mhm.
right? So that was uncomfortable it's still kind of cringy for me to say it like, oh, it's such an unlikable feature set that I was operating in. And yet, the more I got completely excited about expansion, the more I think just through the experience, I proved to myself it's it's better. It feels better as my Jill to go, oh my God, that's so cool. I didn't know that. Or you know what? I think I am deciding I either was wrong or there's a better answer, which doesn't have to mean, oh, you had it wrong all along. There's just something better. It's okay. Don't freak out, Jill. It's all right. Right. So, in my enthusiasm of the growth process that I described and how amazing and alive it felt, I easily let go of those other patterns. So when those other patterns, those kind of little Jills, as I call them, pop up, I'm ready to give that part of me a hug that's like, wait, does that mean we're wrong? Come here, let me give you a hug. If we are wrong, we're going to handle it right now with love, right? Love for self, love for others, respect for self, respect for others, right? Where there's something I don't know, and that's okay. That's not the worst thing in the world to not know something in this reality where it's very difficult to know everything about anything. It's
Mhm.
okay, right? So I self-soothe any parts of me that can get agitated by expansion, growth, new ideas, new concepts, even
Mhm.
somebody else's contradictory ideas. Like, well, does that mean I'm wrong? Do I agree with that? No, I think they're wrong. Okay, that's okay. We don't need to be mad at them. We can just see that they have a different answer for something that's important to all of us.
Mhm.
So those are my two self-sabotaging. It will self-sabotage growth like anything. And I come across it with master healers that are clients. I definitely come across it with a very accomplished sort of individual from any walk of life. There tends to be this self-protected ego of no, don't tell me I don't have it all figured out. Just compliment me today, Jill, in my session, and all will be well. And I'm like, anyway, I have my methods for loosening it all up. But anyway,
Wow, so that was really powerful. It's interesting as I'm sitting with all this, I'm feeling like, and then if anybody else is feeling this is why I'm being like real here and just sharing it. I'm feeling kind of this like small part of myself that just wants to like cry. She's like, she's so
Mm.
great, you know?
Wait, what? I missed that part. It broke up, I
Like,
think, in my
like,
hearing. Can you repeat that?
yeah,
She's,
she's so right.
oh,
Oh,
I
like
love that little Janet.
there's a really sweet part that's been so
Mm.
security driven because I haven't found the depth of the security within,
Mm.
that level of
Mm.
self-soothing. And I'll call it, you could call it divine confidence, you could call it just being okay. And that can be results of lots of different reasons, right? So,
Mm.
that's my real in the moment. And it's interesting because my whole body is starting to heat up. I feel heat in my body.
Mm.
That's
Oh,
gonna
that's
come,
big.
which is probably why I'm wearing short sleeves today. It is going to be 70. I chose to wear short sleeves, so I think I probably knew. Um, and I'm sharing these kind of symptoms, right? These that are happening for me in
Mm.
case anybody else feels these and they don't know what to do with them. I'm kind of sweating a little bit and I'm feeling very warm around my heart in particular,
Mm.
right? And so this is how those things melt. And when I
Mhm.
recognize and own it, which I don't have to do publicly, but
Yeah.
but if it's useful, I don't have a problem with doing it publicly because I want everybody to find those moments they can
Mhm.
really embrace a lot of where those stories, beliefs, and those, fear-based patterns come from, which are egoic self, sabotaging and all that. Um, so thank you for that, Jill. And I just have a little smile, an internal smile for the
Oh,
women,
good.
to be present to that. This
Mhm.
is a perfect example of how I don't shy away from how I'm feeling.
Mhm.
I'm present with it and I embrace it because this is what expansiveness is. And a lot of times we think about that in terms of outward expansion.
Mhm.
But I know for myself, it's about as far out as I go, that's how deep I go. And both are true. And so yeah, I mean, even when, and I'll share this because it's come up a couple times now, even when I've been in, somebody's meditation or in a meditation and people are inviting me to travel out to different cosmos and I go deeper in, because I know that all that is within me. And I know
Mhm.
how to be out there. What I want to do is know how to be in here with the wholeness that I am, you know.
What you just said is so important, Janet. And I don't want to interrupt what you're going to say next, but I just want to amplify what you just said. The
Mhm.
way out for those of us that love the idea of being one with the stars, being one with the universe, being one with all that is, there is such a temptation to leave yourself.
Mhm.
You can't leave yourself to get growth. You can't leave yourself to connect with source or the stars or planets or anything outside of you. The only authentic way to go out is by going in.
Mhm.
And that is such a mind warp, right? The human brain will just get stuck with that. And that's okay. Let the brain be confused about it while you get curious about how that is true.
Mhm. I'll share a brief example, and people may have their own, but I'll share this one as an example of that. I was going through a process and I had a lot of angst around something. And I felt it in my body, right? It was kind of all in my chest and in my, I was like, oh. And so I took the time to be present to that, right? And I just breathed through it. I challenged beliefs and whatever came up that didn't seem true, right? And I just
Mm.
went deeper in and deeper in and deeper in and deeper in and deeper in. And what ended up happening, like something cleared, I'll say, shifted, alchemized, transcended, healed, whatever word you want to use. I had that experience internally. And then
Mm.
what I discovered within me, in my belly, was like this. Trying to think of the words that came up. It was so bright and so light, and it was universes within
Mm.
my belly, and I could feel it.
Mm.
And I saw this really bright
Mm.
light, and I knew it was me. I was like, right? And so that's my version of magic and what works for me, right? And so
Mm.
people might have their own version of that, right? But it's the point is that it is an inward, like I am here. I am here and I want to be here. I wanted to share
Mm.
with you just
I
another,
love that you added that last part, by the way. And I
and
want to be here.
I want to be
Yeah. I'm
here.
sorry.
I
Yeah.
want to
Go
be
ahead.
here
I'm sorry.
because I've
Go for it.
transcended so much of the whatever has blocked, and I include trauma, beliefs. There's lots of stuff in that, right? And
Mhm.
why I've come here to experience a level of trauma that I have is astounding to me
Mm.
sometimes. But it has ended me up as being a trauma expert in terms of energetically working through and transcending these things. So there you go. There is a purpose in it, and it's a profoundly expansive process. So I do want to be here, regardless of what the sensations are. I wanted to share an experience I had just recently of this kind of unknown, and it kind of fits in the world of maybe planning and expansiveness and control, right? These are all kind of things that we know limit our experience here, right? And so many different levels.
Mm.
So what was I doing that day? I had an appointment, and so I was going to this appointment, and my dog here, I don't leave her generally in my apartment alone. This is probably TMI, but here we go. So I get a dog sitter, and then I end up blocking time for me to do things that, I take extended amounts of time outside of my apartment. Okay, so I had an appointment, and then I had a block of time, right? And the temptation has been to fill that, right? The unknown of what I'm going to do and be in my car and sit there and not know. And this has happened multiple times. I mean, I can tell you, especially during significant passages of my life where there's a lot of change, that the temptation is to do what I have done,
Mm.
and it's habitual. And,
Mm.
I've been in an accelerated process, well, probably my whole life, but it just seems to be getting
Mm.
faster. And so taking that pause and not planning it and not filling the time, right, is so important. And so that's what I did. And and this is such good practice in order to open myself up to new experiences. So I'm in my car
Mm.
and I'm literally like, which way am I going to go? I mean, I'm in Sedona.
Mhm.
There's plenty for me to do in Sedona, right? I'm in Sedona. So much beauty everywhere. And I love nature. So, I just followed the guidance. And I ended up, it's always so, I want to say precious. And here's that little part of me that gets to have those like magical experiences.
Mm.
And that's with people I run into. That's with places I go. That's just synchronicities, we'll call them. And so if I don't take that time, that
Mhm.
pause, and give myself permission to explore. So people think about a way or a time recently where you've said, it doesn't matter. And you flop into the old pattern, right? Like just rewind that tape, right? And give yourself a moment. And this could be in business, this could be in your family environment, this could be in your playtime, this could be in any area of your life. Ooh, drop in. Ooh, I'm just feeling people. Drop in, just drop in, whatever that means
Mm.
for you. Drop into you,
Mm.
whatever you call your God consciousness, your you-ness, your unique you-ness unique you-ness that nobody has but you.
Mm.
Wow. And then let part of yourself turn on that has not been on. I can feel it in people. Just take a deep breath.
Mm.
Now that's expansive. Ooh, and let yourself know what you have
Mm.
before. And let that be expansive. and you're in,
Mm.
right? This is your godliness. This is as safe as can be, right? No fear here.
There's a part of me recognizing that you've touched on something so relatable, I'm guessing, for a lot of folks. And that is that sometimes when we want growth the most, we start to try to control it. I have to have a breakthrough. I need a breakthrough. I feel stuck, etc. So that you can feel the brain, even in the thoughts and the words, being very engaged. And in some ways, I know for me, as someone also with a strong brain, it's actually the opposite. My brain needs to relax and go, okay, I wonder what will happen. If my brain is still in the mode of, I need something to happen, needs to happen quick because we are seriously stuck. You know what I mean? Then the field is contracted again. So you're not open to the fluffy edge again, as I was describing earlier, of something, there being something on the outer edge of your current field of sense of self, sense of God, sense of others, sense of possibilities, right? You're you're limiting it by that method. So you use the word control, right? And having a dog sitter be with your sweetie, right? Well, you have free time and okay, I know what I'm going to do, but then also I'm going to leave some openness. I think I heard you say for whatever happens. I live in an area, you live in it. We all actually live in areas perfect for wandering and wondering, no matter where you are. The where we are isn't the problem. It's how we're operating with fluidity and literal openness to what could be.
Yeah.
That could be your next breakthrough where 30 years from now you're going, oh, there was a time in 2024 that, you know what I mean? I really felt connected, right? That could be today. Why wouldn't it be today?
Mhm. Yeah.
Right? So control, trying to plan it, feeling like you have to have it is a form of, those are all elements for self-sabotage and actual limitation, repression, not expansion and not growth. Those with strong brains, I'm just giving all of them a hug because the brain just doesn't want to be left out. My brain is like, wait, I want to hear it first, right? And it doesn't work like that. So sometimes my brain is the last element of me to kind of get it, right? And understand it and be able to put it into words or apply it, et cetera. It wants the manual with something that doesn't have a manual yet. We
Mm.
just thought of it. It isn't, it's an idea, not in this reality yet, bro. You got to chill out. We'll make a manual later or not. So this lack of control, and like you said, I love your term dropping in. And another visualization that somebody may use is allow your center of yourself to not be in your head, not be above your head, be literally right deep inside of your trunk of your physical body. Sometimes that's the last place you feel is going to be the epicenter. But for the brain, you're not leaving the brain, you're just expanding that bubble from just a brain bubble to a full body bubble. That includes a more rooted sense of you.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I mean, in Qigong, I practice Qigong, and then we talk about the lower Dantian, and from what I know is, if I want to physicalize things to the greatest capacity I can to fulfill my potential, that's all in the lower part of the body. That is how we
Mm-hmm.
physicalize things here, right? So
Yeah.
it's very important. And so simple things like putting your hands on your belly. I mean, in meditations, that's why I guide that a lot of times. Tapping on your belly.
Mm.
Just try that and see what happens, right? I mean, I'm not a salesperson here. I'm really not a salesperson, but on my, which I probably could be more of a salesperson. That'd probably be helpful in terms of people finding what my services are. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
um, on my YouTube channel, I've got like a 7 minute video that I did. And if you don't like the terminal, I use the word like Christed consciousness a lot because it was for an event that I was in. So it's like I'm wearing a dress on a stage with a great big old crystal pendant on my hanging, a 2 pound crystal pendant on my,
Awesome.
but anyway, that's all the backstory. But that video is a tapping video that helps you be here now. And I actually say that in here, where are you? And it's a very
Mhm.
helpful 7 minutes. And so if you want an experience with tapping and being here, try that and then use that or find your own method for you to be here in the lower part of your body so your whole self is occupied,
Mhm.
because that is how we experience in those, the sensors that we had talked about in all parts of your body. We have
Mhm.
them everywhere. And so,
Yeah.
we really want to be here. I did want to, how are we doing with time? Oh yeah, we're on the end here already. I've
Yeah, we're on the end here. Yeah.
been
It's hard
very
to wrap up a
quick.
big topic, but
I know
yeah.
it is. So I'll finish my story from a few days ago where with my open time, I ended up on a trail and I hadn't been on this particular trail before. And on the trail, it was I purposely gave myself permission to stop or to go, like to sit and just be present or to go. Because it was, I don't know, 500-foot elevation gain, not much, but I ended up going and it was, yeah. So there were some technical aspects of the trail. So I just gave myself, because it was like an accidental hike, right? Like I didn't know I was going to do it, right? So but what I wanted to share is that, so I kept giving myself permission, which is a great experience for people, right? Like, hang on a second, give my self permission to do something and not do something, and then see what happens. That's more of a being present to myself. And what happened was there were many like aha kind of moments. And there was one I was like, wow, I am done. Like there was a real sense of completion with one way that I'd been operating in the world. And I just sat there, kind of a little on the top of the mountain, right, in this beautiful
Mhm.
nature setting, and just took breaths there and just experienced that gratitude. But
Mhm.
it was the not being engaged in my mind and actually being engaged in my body, right, and
Mhm.
giving myself permission that allowed me to have that many, many aha moments along the way because that
Mhm.
was expansion. That was
Mhm.
when I pull back from what I thought, that's where the attachments, the electromagnetic charges, the old beliefs, I'm letting them go quite.
Mhm.
And that is such a powerful experience. And that does require a level of, you could say, confidence or faith. It's like, am I literally walking my walk? I mean, that was quite literal that day, but am I walking my walk and living in a way that does
Mhm.
invite me to fulfill my potential? Really, it's very practical.
It is very practical. Yeah. So this is a big one. There's a lot here, and I love how subtle and approachable we're offering these things. So for someone that's sort of like, I'm not sure what they were talking about, just listen again. Maybe listen with your eyes closed or watch the video. And then if you've only listened to audio, then watch the video or do it a different way next time. Just letting yourself experience it. If some of you are you get your biggest ahas while you're moving or while you're in the shower. You don't have to sit like a student, sitting still in class. We're adults now, right? So you could listen to it on a walk. You can listen to it in your car. I just feel like all of us have multiple ways of experiencing ourselves in a fresh, expanded, more liberated way. And just trust that there is I feel like Janet and I both, even as our soulfulness, very skillful soulfulness, with mastery and precision and laughs and smiles and so much love and incredible wisdom, are offering you things in every podcast for your expansion, your growth, your wisdom, and your connection.
Mhm. Aho. Yeah.
And that will naturally include healing. It can't not. It
Yeah.
can't not include the healing and the well being and greater states of wholeness and all of those things. So
Mhm.
big.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Stay curious and stay open. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jill and everybody. Mm.
See you next time. Thanks for your subscribing. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for liking. Thanks for sharing. We really appreciate it and hearing what you like best and maybe some new ideas for us to consider on the next ones. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye for now.